at 561-319-5533 or Tom at TrentoVision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
You don't want to be peeking. You don't want to be peeking right now, that's for sure. My computer's not quite working. You're late. Where were you?
I was house hunting.
Oh, you're hunting for a house. CJ needs a house.
Yeah. So if you live on a swell estate and you have a nice guest house in the back on the sand, give me a call.
Yeah.
Here at the studio, 1-888-565-1470.
And no creeps, no cretins, no any of that. Hi.
Joe's saying, okay, that rules me out.
Yeah, there you go. Here we go. Oh, the thing crashed. I was talking to the Grand Poobah in the other room and neglected to look at the clock. And we come here early every day so that we are, like Boy Scouts, well prepared. And I walk in and it's 3:01 and I hear the Trento music. So, but we're prepared. So that's the good news about what's happening. So without getting into too much detail, how'd your house hunting go?
Well, one cute one out of 6.
Oh.
But
cute.
Bevy and I had a swell lunch.
This could take a while, this house hunting.
Yeah.
Bevy is our Boca Bevy, who's a real estate agent.
And all-around swell gal.
And she has been helped with the United West for many years and helping with Trento Vision. And if you want a good, we'll do a little spot for her. If you want a good real estate agent, she takes personal interest. I've watched her through the years with people.
Oh yeah,
it really is amazing.
I'm shocked the amount of work she's doing for me, considering how little she's going to make.
Yes, but that's her. She's a person, very, very giving, very dedicated. She worked very hard for Allen West, both campaigns.
She will not take the bumper sticker off her car. She told me today.
Really?
We were traveling together. She says, I am not taking off the Allen West bumper sticker.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
And she worked very hard for our other good friend, Adam Hasner.
Yep.
And just a wonderful person. Boca Bevy. Thank you, Boca Bevy, for all you do if you're listening. And I am. Did you see the new schedule for today?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, we're going to do things a little differently.
Very ambitious.
Yes, whereas we kind of just hang out and discuss stuff and let people enter into our little world here, which is very informative. Oh, by the way, CJ usually provides the sustenance for the show. It's a 3-hour show, 3 to 6, as you guys know. I'm getting my voice back. It's about 94%. She usually provides the sustenance in the form of baked cookies. They're very good. And then these little healthy bars, whatever they are, pumpkin spice or this or that or whatever. Yeah. She called me today and said, I'm running late. I'm trying to get a house. I didn't bake. Can you pick up can you bring in some snacks? I said, sure, yeah. And running out of my house, I grabbed that bag. See that bag? It's in here. You have a cup full. I thought it said like granola bars or something. It's granola cereal.
Right.
So
right.
I didn't bring any milk, so you have to eat it like sandpaper and then drink a little bit of water, and it's pretty good. So that's
it does look pretty tasty.
That's our granola.
But we're not supposed to eat this on air.
Yeah. Well, being from an Italian family, you can eat anytime you want, anywhere. It's all part of the
it's kind of like being Jewish, Eat, you look hungry.
Right. The ambiance of the culture. We're going to stick to these times as well as we can.
Okay.
Because we are structuring the show for those of you who want to participate with us. and let us sell your crazy product, whatever it may be. It doesn't even have to work. It doesn't nothing. We'll sell it for you, then you worry about it. Now, no, actually, we have to test and approve everything. So, particularly automobiles. You give us if you're an automobile dealer, we'll test the car. I'll test drive it. I raced cars for 20 years. I like the European 12-cylinder models the best, and then we'll push your car. But if you're interested, and we hope you are, in keeping us on the air and helping the show, and we're going to be here, we will do advertising. We'll do spots. We're looking for sponsors. We don't just need to do a spot, a 30-second spot, though we'll do that, but we want to develop relationships with retailers or people, whatever they're doing, whatever they have to get out. So, we're going to work on situations where you can call in from wherever you are. We'll put you on for, a whole segment and integrate it with what we're doing here. You can come into the studio. There's a whole bunch of ways we can help you get your product out. The signal, 50,000 watts, goes from North Miami all the way up to just about Orlando, depending on what road you're taking. It's big. It covers a lot, 1470. It's in a nice location on the dial. And contact me, Tom, at TrentoVision.tv, and we will give you more information about all of that. Today we got an amazing show. And we always have amazing shows. Did you see the new flag that we
I'm
put up there?
amazed at how amazing our shows are.
I know. See the new flag?
Yes.
Well, part of it is you and myself.
Extras.
Yes. I mentioned the United West quite a bit to people, our sister organization. It's a counterterrorism educational organization. We have 3 objectives in the United West. And the whole idea is uniting Western civilization against Sharia Islam. That's the kind of Islam you're seeing exploding in Syria, exploding in Egypt, exploding in most of these war-torn Islamic countries. That particular brand of Islam, Sharia, which is the legal system, the United West fights against. And sadly, many of the proponents of Sharia-compliant Islam live in the United States, put on their Armani suits. If Osama bin Laden put on an Armani suit and went and walked around Wall Street and everything, he just looked like some guy with a beard and walking around, right?
Yep.
But his ideology would be exactly the same. He'd work through either the financial or some of the institutions in America to implement his ideological change to change America. Well, we fight against that over in the United West. And we defend the state of Israel from a national security perspective. That's why we have the Israeli flag right there, the Star David with the blue and all of that, and the American flags. So we wave our flags proudly here at 10 minutes after 3 o'clock on WNN 1470. That's just the radio side. I got a phone call the other day, and I try to get a block of time to answer these calls. Somebody called from New York and made some suggestions as to questions we need to ask. But somebody had sent him our show, and he was very impressed. And I said, call in. Why don't you just call in,
Right.
We're going through all this stuff here. So I think he's going to call in today. But, I explained that, he thanked me, he was effusive in his thanks. I said, no, we're just doing our job, but it's also for the security of America. We're standing with Israel because they're fighting the bad guys there. We want protection here, So it was a good conversation, but he'll be calling in.
What's his name? Or can you tell me, or is it going to be a surprise?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he would want his name told. He's not, he's just a guy. But I don't know if he wants his name on the radio.
Okay.
But the guy who does want his name on the radio is Mark Kohlberg. He'll be with us in just a few minutes.
Okay.
What? Let's try to get Mark Kohlberg. Mark, if you're looking, we are trying to get you.
We are looking for you.
Oh, Mark, in Israel, we need you. So Mark will be here in our first hour, and he's going to give us a on-the-ground, moment-by-moment update as to what's going on in Israel, in the Gaza, with the Hamas, in the West Bank, Judea, Samaria, in Egypt. What the
heck is going
It
on?
is really bizarre what's happening. But, and all of this impacts and affects, what, phone number?
Yes.
Oh, all of this impacts and affects you directly, you folks out there. I'm Tom Trento with CJ. CJ, tell us about your Thanksgiving to the extent you can when I try to get Mark here.
I can't tell you because it's
You
it
missed.
was a
That's
comedy of errors.
That's right.
Yes, I was on my way to my friend's house for Thanksgiving, and I didn't realize until I was already very close to her house that the invitation that she sent that was on my iPhone didn't actually have her address or her home phone number, and I kept trying to call her cell phone, which of course she wasn't answering because she had 30 people in the house having Thanksgiving. So I waited around in the area for about a half hour to see if anybody called me back, which didn't happen. So I went home. And
That sounds sad.
No, it was okay because I made a really good pot of spaghetti, which was really great leftovers also, and I got my laundry done, which had been really piling up and driving me crazy. So I actually had a better weekend because I was able to take care of these things on Thanksgiving. Plus now everybody owes me turkey and pies and all that kind of stuff, so I have lots of chips to collect on.
You did the sympathy thing.
Yeah. You owe me now.
You played on their sympathy. I'm trying to find Mark. We're looking for you, Mark. Now, this is not that strange. We're trying to find Mark Kohlberg in Israel. And the other day, our good friend Barry Shaw was supposed to be on, but he had an electrical problem, knocked him off the grid.
Right.
And you never know what's going on. I mean, Israel's infrastructure is very sound.
Right.
But there's a whole bunch of other things going on. I saw some bizarre report this morning. I pulled up the J-Post, Jerusalem Post, and it had fact that the IAF, Israeli Air Force,
right,
had struck 2 automobiles in the Gaza Strip, killing 2 terrorists that were involved with kidnapping Gilad Shalit. And I said,
Shalit.
Yeah, Gilad Shalit. Yeah, and I said, "What is this? What is going on?" I mean, they broke the ceasefire, but I think it may have been an old report, but it pulled up fresh.
Oh.
It was really strange. And I checked everybody. No one had any confirmation of that, so I didn't really push it at that point. And I haven't seen anything else. Nothing on Mark? Okay. Well, let me tell you before we go. What we'll do is let me see if I can get Barry out in Israel. Barry Shaw. Are you available, Barry? To go on now, Barry. What's amazing about today's communication capabilities? I'm sitting here in Boca Raton. I'm sending a note to one of our guys in Israel, asking. He's coming on Wednesday. He's coming on the show Wednesday. Barry Shaw, our analyst, and we're going to talk about Mahmoud Abbas's. Mahmoud Abbas.
Gosh, when will he go away?
He's not. He's
not ever going away, is he?
He's gaining power. He's the grand.
But he's an old guy.
He's an old guy. He's the big dog for the Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, the other part of the 3-state or 7-state solution, whatever it is. And he's on his way to the United Nations to ask the United Nations, that wonderful organization that ought to leave the United States.
Go away, please.
Yes, he's Mahmoud Abbas, president of Fatah, and he's on the way in the Palestinian Authority. He's on his way to ask the United Nations to make Judea, Samaria, and Gaza recognize them as a state, as a legitimate state. And the Gazans just agreed that they will allow him to do that. The Hamas did.
Of course they will, because they're going to topple him over as soon as they do it.
But
right?
yesterday they said no. Today they said yes. That crazy lady was on, that Palestinian woman. You know her?
Oh, yeah.
She looks like a guy.
I
Yeah,
think
forgot
I
her
do,
name.
yeah.
She was on
Yeah.
today, one of the shows.
The older lady, right?
The older lady, yeah.
She used to hang out with Peter Jennings back in
Peter
the day
Jennings.
when he was in Lebanon, like in the early 70s.
Yep.
She was mixed up with him back
And
then.
Yasser Arafat.
Yeah, and she was in the... she's a member she's a member of their council
PLO.
in...
She's the PLO administrator,
yeah.
Of the PLO still.
Yeah.
So,
Hannah something or other, I think.
I forget her name, but Alan Bergstein would remember her name. Alan, if you're there, give us a call and tell us her name. Well, while we're waiting for Barry, if we can't find those guys, then you and I will go through the material, because we know it inside out, so that's fine. What does this thing say here?
Yikes.
But it's amazing how you can get your little computer here, make a few marks on it, and contact somebody 7,000 miles away, and they're not there. So
Nobody's
it's not that amazing. But what is amazing is Peter Feynman. Do you remember Peter Feynman?
I love Peter Feynman.
Yes. Tell everybody who he is.
Peter Feynman is a fabulous local attorney here in South Florida. He's one of the founders of the Florida Security Council. He's a very high up member of the Republican Party, representing Florida to the National Party. He's on the right side of every issue. Can I say anything about his personal ministry?
Yeah.
He's written several books, and which are very informative, especially about political correctness
One
and
of them
danger.
is Wake Up America.
Wake Up America. And,
What was that about? That was the one, Wake Up about the
Wake Up about the threat
Islamic threat.
of
Yeah.
Islamic jihad.
Yep. And then his latest book is The Coming Nightmare,
The Coming Nightmare.
which is the joining of the left with Islam to form this cabal that will just try to defeat and devastate the conservative Judeo-Christian worldview.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that's Peter Feynman. He is
Super smart, but a really, really just all around really decent man and good friend to everybody who knows him, I think, and volunteers to do prison ministry work. And
Oh, that's right.
He
does that too.
Yeah,
He's a Christian.
Yeah, he's a Christian, but practices it. Not a Christian in name. He lives it. So
Now,
which you could tell when you talk to him.
Mike, you have his stuff up yet? I can't see here.
Yeah, I see his
Oh, there
Peter's
he is.
picture.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah, Feaman. So, this is a little spot for Peter. There's his book. If you are in need of a phenomenal attorney, business attorney, that's his primary area of work. He's a litigator, and he has represented us in battles, our activism battles, and represented many of our friends in business issues. Phenomenal 30-year attorney. Go to Feynman Law, www.feaman, Feynman Law, one word, .com, if you can do that. And give him a call. Give Peter there. Go to the website. Give him a call. If you have any legal needs, that's the guy to go to. You need your will done. Who knows? He'll probably figure out a way to get it done for you. Tell you, go look at his website for all the things he does. But he is a true warrior, like many of us fighting this ideological battle against the socialistic left, against the Obama efforts to undermine our military, undermine our economy. And not only is Peter an ideological warrior, but he's the national committeeman for the Republican Party. He's the state of Florida's unanimously elected individual to represent Florida in the Republican Party in Washington, D.C. And his rates are great. I mean, they're not outrageous at all. So, Peter Feynman, give him a call. We're going to talk about a few of our other friends as we get into the show. I would guess that Mark is not around and Barry's not around.
We do, however, have a caller.
Okay, well, who's the caller? You have any idea who the caller is? Is it a crazy person?
He might be, if he's looking for you.
All right, who's on the line? Do we have a crazy person on or a regular
No,
person?
he sounds like a very nice man, and he spoke with you earlier today.
Oh, this may be the gentleman from up north.
Yeah, Dr. Chaim.
Hello, this is You're On with Tom and CJ.
Hi, I hope you're not considering me a crazy man. I'm not too far from Bellevue Hospital, however. My name's Chaim Citron. Thank you very much for the opportunity there.
Sure.
A couple of general questions that I had in mind. I think the issue that news people have not been raising, and those are the frequently in the news broadcast of the recent conflict in Gaza. People talking about the air raid sirens going off in Israel and the frequent announcements of those sirens and the safe rooms and the various shelters that Israel has. Never once did anyone raise the issue. The question is, why are there no sirens in Gaza? Why are there no shelters in Gaza?
Okay, yes. Now, why don't you repeat that, CJ? Your connection's a little weak, but we'll repeat it, and for the listeners out there, then we'll answer it.
Okay, the question basically is, we heard over the last week, every time something happened in Israel and Gaza, the air raid sirens went off in Israel, and everybody knew where to go for their shelters. And the caller is asking, how come there's no sirens or shelters in Gaza?
Good question. Well, do we know for a fact there aren't? There may be, but we've never heard anything promoted. It really goes to the larger issue, and we've seen a lot of this over the past week, where people are criticizing the whole Gaza Strip and the Hamas, saying, look, you had this country now, this piece of land, 7 years. You could have made a Qatar. You know, you're on the Mediterranean. You forget about all this nonsense of blockades and all of that. To the extent you change your belief systems, you could have focused on being productive, building infrastructures, building liberal education. Saudis could have come in, all your Muslim nations, they all could have come in to help you. But no, you want to be that festering sore on the globe to point to Israel as being the bad guy. So it only follows that why should they have any concern about bomb shelters or sirens? In fact, it's in contradistinction to that. Former Ambassador Dan Gillerman was on today.
Yeah.
He said something that was fascinating. He said, look, if you sleep over rockets, there's a good chance you're not going to wake up in the morning. Right? Think about that.
Oh my gosh.
He goes, for you folks in the Gaza Strip who sleep over rockets, your Hamas rockets, there's a good chance you're not going to wake up in the morning, right? And that goes along with no sirens, no bomb shelters. They're using their people as the shelters to protect them from Israeli aggression.
They look for the media opportunities to show wounded Palestinians at the hands of Israeli aggressors, and they hide.
The BBC is the worst with that.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely, and they hide their rockets, their missiles, their guns, all their weapons and everything else. In civilian areas, in apartment buildings, in hospitals, in schools, in playgrounds, because they know that the Israelis are going to be as honorable as they can be and not target these deliberate civilian areas to eradicate the weapons. So what do they care? They don't care. They don't value human life. Why should they? They don't even value their own.
Am I still on the air?
Yes, you are. Yes, go ahead.
I've been to Gaza. I've been there, and I might tell you that at the risk of sounding a moment of sacrilege, I live in Netanya, which in Israel everyone is quick to point out how beautiful the beaches are in Netanya, and Netanya is proud to think of it probably among the best beaches in the country. I have to tell you, when I was in Gaza, the beaches are spectacular and were beautiful. I was even at the original home, private home, actually summer home of King Farouk before the Arabs tore it down. They tore it down because the beaches were spectacular and one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. I thought then it would be a marvelous place for the resort. Of course, that never happened.
Wow. The caller is saying, for those of you, it's a tough phone connection, but that you, and I think you told me earlier today that you live part-time in Netanya and part-time in the United States. You've been to Gaza, and the Gaza beaches are beautiful. I have seen pictures, and I never have validated the legitimacy of them. I've seen pictures of one or two nice hotels on the beaches in Gaza, and it is spectacular. I mean, the weather's usually beautiful all the time, but it all comes down to ideology. And what's your name, sir, on the phone? What should we call you?
Chaim Citron.
Chaim, okay. It all comes down, when all is said and done, it all comes down to ideology, and their ideology, as articulated in the covenant, the Hamas covenant, which is their constitution. I don't know how familiar you are, but we go through it a lot on this show, and it is impossible for there ever to be peace or there ever to be production of any sort or love for family beyond loving your family to become a martyr, but loving your family to build a heritage, in with what you have. Impossible in light of the belief system articulated in the Hamas covenant, it's called. It's all just set for the destruction of Jewish people. Hey, any other questions before we let you go here?
Thank you very much. If one were to write a history of Gaza or the Arabs or the Palestinians, I don't know what the history would say, but I have a title for you: The History of Lost Opportunity.
The History of Lost Opportunity. Chaim, thank you very, very much. Appreciate you calling. Keep listening to the show. Tell your friends. And that was Chaim from up north, I think the New York area. The History of Lost Opportunity. I want to do this here for a second. Then I want to get in the heads of the Palestinians living in Hamas. And for folks out in the listening audience on the radio, WNN 1470 AM on the dial, or if you're watching us on TrentoVision.tv, if you're watching on the computer, right above our little faces is the call-in number, 888-565-1470. If you're driving in your automobile, it's very easy to remember. We are 1470 on the right-hand side of your radio in your automobile. Set one of the presets, 1470. There you go. How do you do this? You push this, you push that, you push this. These cars are so confusing, some of these presets, if you get in different cars. 1470. Then we're free. So it's 888. That means it's free. And all you have to remember is 565, the middle three numbers. 5 and 6. And we were going to make it 7, but we said, no, let's make it 5. 565. So 888-565-1470. Feel free to give us a call. Chime in if you disagree with us. Say, jump in. We may pulverize your ideas, but we'll do it with kid gloves on and in a genteel manner. Not like, though, our good friend Jack Funari, who is another organization we want to tell you about. We want you to go use the services of Peter Feynman, and Jack Funari has a great website. Mike, you got that?
Insurance?
No.
BizPack.
BizPack Review. BizPac Review. BizPackReview.com. Jack started it. Jack's a Republican political. You know Jack.
Yes.
Republican political activist. He was a businessman. I believe he sold his business, moved to Florida. That's nice, isn't it? And then got involved in being a political advocate, and he put this website together about a year ago. It is really growing like crazy. I think he has something like 200,000 or 300,000 views per month, I believe. That's a lot.
Wow.
That's a lot. And he's got writers. He's got journalists all over the place. Excellent articles. He covered Allen's campaign impeccably. So if you
He actually said he was going to visit us after the election.
yes, he is. We got to give him a call.
Got to give him a call. Yeah.
And if you, what we're going to do here is the people we recommend are people who have proven themselves worthy of our stamp of approval, both in terms of their truthfulness and faithfulness to the cause, and then their professionalism. And very few blogs followed the campaigns and the election, as did locally BizPac Review, BIZPAC Review.com. Go there, take a look at it. Our friend Mark Kohlberg, who's hung up in Israel right now, he writes, I believe, weekly for them. He does a review for them. So go to BizPac Review, and it's pretty good stuff. Now, let's get inside the head of, well, let's update everybody as to what's going on in Gaza
Yeah,
right
let's
now.
start. Yeah.
We left when? We left on Friday. Where were we on Friday?
Oh, I think Morsi was becoming dictator-in-chief over in Egypt.
The shows on Friday were called Hamas,
Yeah.
A Lost Opportunity. I think our last caller.
Ah, I think maybe that's where he got it.
I think he might have.
Yeah.
Unless it's just a big coincidence.
It could be.
Chaim. We had,
Chaim.
what is it? How do you say?
Chaim.
Chaim. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with
Yeah,
that.
I know. A New Jersey Italian guy trying to speak Jewish. So we had Claire Lopez on last Friday, and we took a look at Israel's decision not to attack on the ground, the Hamas, go in and destroy the enemy. And we labeled it Hamas, a lost opportunity. What has happened,
Well,
CJ, since
Yeah, I
Friday?
mean, first of all, I don't think they could have gone in and actually done the job anyway, because obviously over 75% of the population is complicit.
What's that?
And you can't kill everybody. And you can't really go door to door and house to house and dig up everybody's cellars and take away their stuff and get out of there. It doesn't work. As soon as you do that, there's someone right there to take the place of whoever you hit. You get rid of the top guy, then you got the second one, then you got the third one, then you got the fourth one, and then you have a whole generation just starting kindergarten waiting to grow up and take their places too. You can't ever eradicate it unless the people who are subscribers of that faith choose to do it for themselves. They can make that choice that they want to live a certain type of life or they don't want to.
So
They can live in war or they can live in peace. It's up to them. It's got nothing to do with Israel or Russia or Syria or Iran or anybody else but themselves.
Well, what is their argument, though? What we're doing right now, Tom Trento, TrentoVision.tv. I'm here with CJ. Mark, by the way, Mark Campbell, our intrepid, that's a good term for him,
Yep.
disembodied voice. He is not with us. As we told you last week, his wife, one of his wife's close relatives died, and they are up north, involved in funeral services. So if you're prone to prayer, you could pray for Mark and Jess as they're on a couple of difficult days, but he'll be back with us later on in the week. But Invisible Mike is with us running the computer, and we got Joe back there that you guys can see every once in a while.
Yes. Less invisible.
More visible and less invisible. And today we are taking a look at Egypt in turmoil and the implications of that in the Middle East, but more importantly, the implications to your particular life. That's the key. And all of this is at the feet of President Obama. Now, why do we say that? Well, we're going to explain to you today why President Obama owns Egypt and why he owns the Muslim Brotherhood and why he owns the turmoil in Egypt right now. On Friday, we had our good friend Claire Lopez, 20 years with the agency, Clowns in Action, as some people call it, or Christians in Action, but it's really the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. And she laid out her view, and a very solid view on some of the missed opportunities of going in, where Israel had over 1,000 sorties and in a pinpoint fashion took out a good portion of the Hamas leadership and destroyed their long-range Fajr, F-A-J-R, Fajr 5 missiles, which are 30 feet long, not the 9-foot Katyusha rockets, 30 feet long that could pack a wallop. So in a sense, Israel said, oh, we've accomplished our tactical objectives. Let's discuss that for a minute. Then we'll move into what Mohammed Morsi did as soon as the president and the Secretary of State said, hey, you can walk on water, Mohammed.
Oh my gosh.
Let's look at these objectives. You just said, CJ, the IDF would have to go in there and they would have to basically have door-to-door combat, and it would be brutal and dirty, and they did it years back. And they would literally have to occupy the place. I mean, they would have to stay there for a while to shut their rat lines down, and the insurgents would be there, people sniping and putting kids in front of them. It would have been brutal and bloody. Why can't they just bomb the city into oblivion until the people give up? Why can't they do that?
Because they don't give up.
Well, the Japanese didn't give up, and the Germans weren't ever going to give up.
But these are jihadis. Their mutually assured destruction does not work for them.
Where is my... and actually, mutually assured destruction is actually an enticement to war. Daniel... There was an article written by Daniel Greenfield, who does great work.
Yeah.
Tremendous writer, Sultan Kanish, and he, it's on Front Page Magazine today. He wrote, "The Answer is War," and his thesis was all of this kind of limited, suppressed war that Israel always gets into, this aggression, to the point where the Palestinians say, okay, we've accomplished our media goals.
Right.
Now you got to stop. It's almost a kabuki theater.
Right, right.
We're going to fire missiles at you.
Right.
We want you to attack us, and
Yeah.
you're only going to attack us.
We'll let you do it for 3 or 4 days before the world makes you stop. And then we'll declare a victory, and then we'll go back to business as usual. Plus, we'll get an extra 2, 3, 4, 500 million, billions, whatever, from the United States, from the EU, from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, and we'll get to start all over again. And then we'll bring those cargo ships over from Iran, and we'll rearm ourselves, and good luck stopping us, because we put the skids on you now.
And while we victory for Palestinians is mere survival. All they have to do is come out of the rubble, and they've proven to the Islamic world, because the Islamic world is so convoluted in their understanding of reality, that mere survival is victory in wartime. And in a sense, it is for them, because they usually gain something. They usually gain something from the Israelis. So Daniel Greenfield said, the only way the West was able to defeat the Japanese, who had a similar theocratic, theological mindset in the belief of the emperors being God.
Right.
And the way the Germans had a similar belief in Hitler being the Fuhrer, was bombing their cities into oblivion, to the point where they surrender and they go, please stop, you win. And his point was, until Israel destroys these people and bombs them into oblivion, where they surrender and give up, then it's always going to be this kind of stepped war, where Israel's always going to be the loser at some point in this crazy situation. What do you think of that?
Well, I think they're already the loser in all of it, but I don't see that they're ever going to bomb Gaza into oblivion.
Well, why not? I mean, if more missiles are coming and they want to keep teaching their kids all this stuff about Jews being apes and all the school books say Israel doesn't exist, I mean, why not just, and you wouldn't destroy the whole population.
Okay, well, put it this way. I mean, could you go X amount of kilometers into Gaza and just start clearing it out only up to a certain point where missiles and rockets aren't actually reaching across into Israel, and then basically just start inching your way in and say, okay, well, we had some missiles come from here and some rockets come from here, so all these buildings are gone and we're razing down the land, and you won't be able to fire anything from here because we're just going to sit over here and pick you off every time you show your face in this field, and keep pushing that field further and further and further back until it becomes impossible for them to actually strike at Israel. Is that a possibility?
Almost a demilitarized zone. I mean, that's a huge engineering task. But let's put that on the table as a theoretical plan to solve the ongoing problem between Hamas and Israel. Now, let me throw something else out here for our viewing and listening audience. What we're trying to do, we're struggling right now. We have been recruited by the Israeli government, by the Shin Bet, by the Mossad, by all these groups, to give them the answer to this. And we said our people in Boca Raton, they know the answer to this.
We have a cunning plan.
We got the answer. So plan A is get your bulldozer and put a demilitarized zone there.
Yeah, just keep pushing it further back.
Okay. Barry Shaw said last week, he said, go in and do the ground force, just smash everything, blow everything up that gets in the way. Somebody fires, sort of the Marine concept of overwhelming firepower. They fire a sniper shot, just devastate that whole area, demolish it, blow it up, move on to the next one.
Right.
Then bring Mahmoud Abbas in and say, it's all yours now. You're the head of the Palestinian Authority. You're supposed to be in charge of both of these things. You got some renegade terrorists here. We just killed the terrorists. It's all yours now, Mahmoud. You didn't like that idea last week, did you?
No.
Okay, so we got two ideas on the ground, Barry's and yours.
Yeah. But I think part of this idea of the DMZ would be similar to what I thought before Israel put up the barrier from the West Bank side into Israel during the Intifada, when all the suicide bombers were coming across. And what I said at that time was, okay, you send us a suicide bomber and we're going to take out the building and the family and everybody associated with this guy or this woman every time you send somebody over. So, poof.
There you go.
You're gone. Whole blocks.
Now
Apartment
this
buildings.
stuff may sound a little bellicose. But this is war.
If you do that, you know.
Well, we had an opportunity in February to go to the West Bank.
So maybe some of that with some pushing back, maybe.
The way they did it in the West Bank is fascinating. They built the apartheid wall that we've seen on college campuses all over America.
Nonsense.
We were at, where were we? We were down in California somewhere at UCI, University of California at Irvine. And then we went a couple of days later, remember, to University of San Diego, University of California, UCSD. That's where the woman said to David Horowitz, the jihadi Palestinian woman.
Right.
David Horowitz said, you want all the Jews to return to Jerusalem, so it's easier to take us all out with one shot, right? And she said, yes, right?
Right.
That was University of California at San Diego. both of those schools had about a 12-foot high wooden wall that was maybe 50 feet long, and little doorways, which were the checkpoints to get through, and all the graffiti and all this stuff. If you go to the unitedwest.org, these videos are up. But those walls are up in the West Bank, and then there's fences. And we asked our briefers, our intelligence briefers, why does the wall stop and then there's a fence? And he said, well, see those houses over there? They were sniping, shooting at the cars. So all we did with the wall was to block the snipers from shooting at the cars. And where it's harder to shoot, we just have a fence. So this
Right.
wall thing is kind of absurd. But what they did is these people were acting like animals in many respects. Now they'll argue the Jews took our land, we're freedom fighters, they're occupying. That woman today said one of the non-negotiables is that we get back, the Palestinians get back all of Jerusalem. Not negotiable, dividing Jerusalem. It's all ours. It's Muslim territory. I said, okay, that's really going to happen. So at the West Bank, Judea, I think that's where the name Jew came from, Judea.
Yeah, that should be a clue.
That should be a clue. Well, that's
Yeah.
Muslim territory. The area is you have to go through checkpoints, and the bombs aren't allowed to come in. So if you want to come in, and everybody has ID cards, that's allowed to pass from there, the Palestinian, Israeli Arabs. If you want to come in, you can do that, but you can't take any bombs with
Okay,
you.
Hanan Ashrar.
That's it.
Ashrawi.
Send Mike her picture, and we'll
Yeah,
put her
let me
picture
see
up.
if I can,
I thought she was,
Yeah.
long gone and buried or whatever, but she popped up, even though she looks like she died yesterday or something, and they're keeping her cold. She's very sharp. She speaks excellent English. She's a very good debater. She's a formidable opponent. That's why she's smarter than 99% of the Muslim guys they have there.
Right.
And they hate women, and they hate women in leadership positions.
Right.
But she's just too damn smart to not have her
Yeah.
out front. So they rolled her, this antique, back out today. First time I've seen her.
Well,
in
she went away
years.
for a while after Peter Jennings died.
Well, that was her.
Because that was there was a whole scandal. Nobody talked about it while he was alive, really.
What
But
was
then
it? I don't know
after
what it
he
was.
after he died, then people started coming out of the closet and saying what a sympathizer he had been with
Oh, him.
Palestinian
Oh.
causes,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was because of this woman when they dated. And
They
then-
dated?
Yeah.
He dated her? Oh,
yeah,
you're kidding
yeah,
me.
yeah,
God.
yeah. Okay.
Not,
So who do I send this to? Do I send
To
it
Mike,
to Mark?
yeah. No, Mike. You have his email? Send it to me, and I'll send it over to him. All right, so now we're coming up with ways in which Israel can deal with the Hamas in Gaza. But there is a counter-argument that has some weight to it, I must admit. And the counter-argument simply goes like this. It says, Israel's real target in all of this is Iran, to the east, and this whole adventure in Gaza had several military objectives. One was to get this almost like a pack of fire ants, just to smash the nest up and get them scurrying all about and destroy their capability to fire their missiles, because the Israelis have the intelligence. They have a zillion spies in Gaza. They know exactly with GPSs. The spies have little GPSs on their cell phones. They mark a waypoint where there's a missile site. They send that back to the Israelis. They put it into their either mortars or artillery or into the jets, and they know right exactly where the missile is. So they destroyed tons of missiles. They wanted to
Right.
get the larger ones. They did that. And they wanted to mess up the infrastructure. They did not shut the electricity. They did not shut the water.
No.
They could have done that and made
No.
life really miserable. So they
And why do they not do that? And why do they let all these warships gather off the coast of Gaza right in their sea space.
Well, the theory is they devastated the infrastructure enough and destroyed the weaponry enough that if in the event, remember the picture at the UN back in September that Netanyahu had of the round Roadrunner bomb?
Yeah.
He said the red line is when? You remember?
Springtime.
Springtime in Gaza, springtime in Iran. Springtime, folks, is right around the corner when you're a military planner. So one of the theories was that the Israelis would devastate the military infrastructure, knock off the command and control leadership, and test out their equipment in terms of a possible attack on Iran. And, their pinpoint precision is simply impeccable. Their Iron Dome system, which was a joint development with the United States. The United States didn't build that and give it to the Israelis. Took an existing system, and both of them worked on it to make the Iron Dome system. So all of this was a dress rehearsal for the big show with Iran. But I heard another interesting point.
I don't.
Listen to this.
I don't know about that.
Another interesting point was that Israel had to bring things to a close because they were running out of the missiles that fire out of the Iron Dome. They were running down on a supply, and if the war kept going, and if they missed some places where these larger missiles were, then there could be tremendous destruction in Tel Aviv, and they didn't want that as a symbolic victory or as an actual destruction. So they agreed to the ceasefire. There's in each of the batteries, they have 4 or 5 batteries. There's 20 pods, each pod 1 missile. You fire several missiles at one rocket. They're $40,000 a pop. So to shoot down one cost at least $100,000. To shoot down one little Katyusha, 9-foot missile that costs $50 to make, the Israelis are spending $100,000 to shoot that down. The bigger ones, they could be destructive, but the only way they can get them, the Fajr, F-A-J-R, Fajr 5, the only way the Gazans, because they fire off the back of a truck, can get them to Tel Aviv, they had to take the payload out, the 200 pounds of explosives, they had to cut it down to 30 or 40 pounds. So they got it further, but it didn't have a big wallop at the end. So kind of crazy
But now,
what's
what if
going
it's
on.
coming from Lebanon or Syria instead?
There's trouble. We're going to talk about that after we take our break. There's trouble coming from Lebanon. Lebanon says we're going to send 10,000 missiles your way, Israel. And Friday when we left, after our president and our Secretary of State said that Mohammed Morsi walks on water, he went and walked on water in Israel, and Israel's on fire right now. We'll talk about Israel when we get back. And then we got so much today. See you in a little bit. This is Tom Trento.